Welcome, everybody, to Everyday Ethics. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, and we've got a great show today. In addition to answering whatever questions you may have brought, my wonderful co-host, Persephone, had me read an article on the effects of cancel culture on psychology. And I thought it was a good article. I think it's a good topic. Persephone, start us off, but also tell us what made you think of this as a topic.
Okay, so a little bit of backstory. Over the weekend, Nicholas Brendon, one of the stars of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, died.
Yeah.
And it was obviously very sad. And his co stars, the people that had worked with him on Buffy for many years, a lot of them shared posts, obviously, because, Nicholas Brendon, they worked together for 7 seasons. So they were quite close. And all of his co stars shared posts sort of mourning the death of someone who was a friend to them. And also, for people who may not know, Nicholas Brendon did have some legal troubles. He did have, problems with drugs and alcohol. And he wasn't the greatest of guys, right?
All right.
And what ended up happening is that the people who were mourning the death of their friend, they were getting sort of hate comments like, well, why are you posting a memorial for a dude who like strangled his girlfriend and did drugs? And it, it just had me thinking about how toxic social media can be,
Mm-hmm.
because we as people, we don't know Nicholas Brendon in real life. The people who are posting the memorials, they do, right? And it's their choice whether they associate with a person, or even if he was a shit person, that it was still their friend, they can still choose to mourn. But people on social media feel so comfortable just saying, well, how dare you? You can't do this because he was a shit person. And it just got me thinking about how toxic social media and the internet can be, and the negative effects that it can have on people, because people can become too scared to say anything, to share their opinions, like, because they worry, maybe my job will see this, or maybe someone will see this and take it the wrong way, and then I'll be cancelled. And then people will start phoning my work, and you know, and it just creates this culture of, I don't know, anxiety. So I went looking specifically for if there was anything to, because this was just a feeling that I had. So I went looking to see if there was anything that backed that up, if there was any sort of increase in the anxiety that people feel. And so I found this article, this paper in Premium Science, I think. And hi Nicole, bye Nicole. Yeah, I found it interesting and kind of worrying and kind of horrible.
So I have really I don't think they're mixed feelings about this. I think my feelings or my thinking on this is pretty consistent. But I just want to give you two examples, right? This example where you have this guy dying and people are grieving and they're expressing their grief. And others are getting mad, doing what might be called in common parlance clutching their pearls, right, over it. That's what we hear a lot about. And, just for the record, uh, people sometimes love bad people, right?
Mm.
Or people that aren't up to par. Like guys that are in prison, I know because I was there, have people that love them. Those people have as much a right to grieve the loss of their loved one as anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, over the weekend, Robert Mueller died. Robert Mueller is a former Marine, Vietnam vet, was the head of the FBI, and was the special counsel appointed to investigate Donald Trump. Donald Trump posts on Truth Social, "I'm glad he's dead."
Oh, I
that
saw
type of
that.
thing, right? So now I'm glad he's dead. Now he can't hurt people, whatever. And a lot of people were offended by that and said, you shouldn't do that. And then the response from Trump supporters was oh, you're all clutching your pearls. My point in using these two examples is that I think that there are real sometimes shit people in this world that deserve to get what we're calling canceled. Meaning, if you were going to be such a jerk, then you are not going to be welcomed into various social circles, right? That makes sense to me. As it makes sense to me to call out Trump for being a dick, right? On the flip side, we can go very much too far where you have some kid who tells an all off color joke and now he's canceled and nobody wants him around. Parents may not want, their kids hanging around with him, or some young celebrity says something and, just gets, he's kicked to the curb for it. So you have sort of this tension between, I think, a viable mechanism of reinforcing norms in society that then can go too far. So what happened in my view, in my experience, which is admittedly very limited, right? I mean, we all are, the world that each of us lives in is necessarily limited in that we don't have access to every piece of information out there. But we had a situation where cancel culture went off the rails, where people just started getting canceled for everything. You're canceled for this, and oh, you look at this, you told this joke. Oh my God, you wore blackface in high school, and now you're 70. Nobody should talk to you. But now it seems like it's gone the other direction, where people are just very comfortable with saying very mean, inappropriate stuff with no consequence. For instance, when I first got on social media, I was shocked how many people thought it was so okay to call me a Jew, an okay Jew, they were saying, and oh, last name, it figures, or every single time whenever I would say something, there'd be a backlash from this group of people. And one of the guys did it, and I shared his post. I said, look, this is what these people are. And the guy said, oh, nobody told you that doesn't work anymore. Because what has happened, again, in my view, is they've grouped together. So there's a group of them that all accept each other no matter what they say. In a backlash against cancel culture, which in turn was a backlash against shit people, it goes from one extreme to the next. So you have people who can't grieve their pal, Nicholas Brendon, who I don't even know what he did. I can't even comment on it because I don't really know. But they're grieving their friend and getting lashed out against. Meanwhile, people who are rightfully think it's a dick move for Donald Trump to praise the death of somebody are called pearl clutchers. So people are unable to, or many people are unable to differentiate between appropriate offense being taken at asshole behavior and just canceling or trying to cancel everybody who just says something they don't like. Am I making sense to you? No,
Yes.
I know he was. I used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was also on Criminal Minds. He played Garcia's
Yes.
boyfriend. I just
Yes.
don't know about his personal life to be here judging
So
it or assessing it.
So on the one hand, when it comes to Nicholas Brendon, I can understand why people are saying he was a shit person. He was an alcoholic. He assaulted two of his girlfriends. Um, he had drug charges. He had a whole bunch of like felony vandalism charges, misdemeanor assault charges, so like all sorts of things. And this was like over the course of quite a few years. And it started with alcohol, and then it got into prescription drugs, and then illegally obtaining prescription drugs. So I get it, okay? Like he turned into a bad dude. That doesn't change the fact that he was still a friend to those people, and it's up to them whether whether they like choose to mourn. So one of his co-stars posted like, I mourn the person that I knew, right?
Okay. All right. Are they
Like,
out there doing the typical "what a great guy he was" that people do whenever someone dies?
no. So again,
Okay.
his one co-star, Charisma Carpenter, she posted like, I mourn the person that you were when we were friends. We had a good time
Yeah.
on set. So they sort of like, quite a few of them were talking about him as he was when they knew him, and sort of distancing from who he became later, which fair, that it's also up
Sure.
to them. They can decide who they associate with, and a lot of them chose later in life not to associate with him because of all of these things, and that's up to them. um but that was just sort of what got me thinking, and what started this whole thought process. And one of the really interesting things that I read in that article that I sent you was not the direct effect
Don't
of
go into
cancel
that yet. Hold on that just for now. Because, first of all, what was Charisma Carpenter's name on Buffy? Because it's driving me crazy.
Cordelia.
Cordelia. Yes, I used to watch that. I think I've seen probably every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I also watched her on Angel,
Yes.
Cordelia, Charisma Carpenter. I really enjoyed the show, by the way. And Cordelia, if I'm not mistaken, started off as she was like the antagonist to Buffy, but later on she became the good person. But
Yes.
anyways, I digress. So, if all they're saying is they mourn the loss, then it's a shit thing to do to go on there and attack this guy. Had they been on there saying he was a great guy, however, in public, you're on a public site. And if people chose to respond and say, no, he's not a great guy, I would agree. But it sounds like that's not what he's doing. So now you wanted to get into, there were three main consequences they talked about coming from cancel culture: anxiety, social isolation, and self censorship.
Yes.
So that's what you're going to get to. Okay,
Yes.
so give an intro to each, and we'll talk about each one in turn.
Okay, so the first consequence is anxiety, which
Yes.
is this feels obvious, right? Because when you post something, there is always the chance that someone either is going to interpret it wrong, or you're going to say something that is really dickish, or you're going to post something and someone is going to see it and then decide that you need to be cancelled. And this creates anxiety in people because you're worried that if you say something, if you share your opinion, that you're going to, you know, become a victim of the mob.
Yeah. So how do you want to? Do you want to talk about like I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I've had like people try to cancel me so many times on social media. Like people will come out. Do you know he's a convicted felon? It's in my bio. I mean, like they've talked. Do you know he did this? And then I just post all the articles because I am not going to hide from reality,
Yeah.
right? If anybody out there thinks that they're going to wreck me with reality, they're sorely mistaken. I know what I've done in my life, right? I don't hide it from anybody. If you don't want to deal with me because what I did, that's your choice. And I'm not
So,
going to try to take that away. I want to just say this. Hold on. Don't go sick. Don't go sick. And so I think that people in general, and obviously when you're talking about kids, it's a different story, and their parents maybe need to cater to teach them to them. Fuck the fucking mob.
yes.
And I got to cut down on swearing. Screw what they think, right? If you have a truth to tell, tell it. Now, you shouldn't be a jerk or you shouldn't be unethical regardless of what the mob thinks, right? That should not be the primary. The primary in your life should not be what or how people are going to react. It should be loyalty to yourself, your mind, reality. That's how I would deal with the anxiety aspect of it. It's just stop giving a you know what other people think and do. Now go ahead, Persephone.
Okay, so I get where you're coming from, but let me just give you the other side of this.
Mm-hmm.
So the internet has been around for a long time, and the internet has been around for millennials and the generations that came after us since we were children, right? So since we were like 8 or 9, and especially for a lot of millennials, we had access to the internet when it was a far more dangerous and uncensored and stupid place. Um, and I'm going to give you some real life examples of things that have happened and how cancel culture really works, because it's not just I'm going to tell people what you did and people are going to be nasty to you. So, say you're a 15-year-old and you post something because you're trying to be edgy on your Twitter account back in the early days of Twitter, and you post something really like un-PC, right? Like all N words are stupid because you're being an edgy teenager.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 15 years later.
Mm-hmm.
That tweet still exists and can be linked to you. You've changed. You've grown as a person. You would never, ever do that again. You have grown as a person. Someone finds that tweet, they link it back to you. All of a sudden, you've got thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, number one, sending you messages, posting your personal information, your cell phone number, your home address,
Mm-hmm.
your credit card information if they can find it, doxing you,
Yeah.
right? Then you've got people sending you death threats. You've got people possibly showing up to your house to threaten you. You've got people phoning your job. There is a good chance that if there's enough of them, that you lose your job because the company that you work for doesn't want to deal with 500 phone calls a day saying, how could you like hire this racist piece of shit, even though it's from something that happened 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yes, very true. Like, number one, don't be a dick. Number two, like, don't be anxious. But there can be very serious repercussions to things either that you did a long time ago and have since grown from, or that have been taken wildly out of context. Just look at some of the things that have happened to Mr. Pellegrino,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's posted some things. Granted, he's posted some things that weren't taken out of context, but there have been things that have been taken wildly out of context that have been used to completely, like, people have tried to destroy his career.
Yes.
So I can understand how that can create serious anxiety in people, even
Okay.
though, like, maybe it shouldn't. I can see why it does.
Okay. So there's two separate topics going on here. I'm talking about people who are when you're gauging your behavior right now, how you're going to behave going forward. So
Mm-hmm.
if we look at the person, the people that would do that, they're scum. Right? I'm
Yes.
talking about the cancel. They're going to drag somebody's comment on Twitter up from 15 years ago. They're scum, but there's nothing that person can do about that now. So I mean, to change that,
No.
right? So what I'm talking about when I was speaking is how you're going to approach life right now, right? First of all, don't be going on trying to be edgy on the internet just for the sake of being edgy, because you might get what you're looking for,
Mm.
right? So don't do that. But don't not tell the truth. You don't have to tell the truth on Twitter. Maybe you don't need to be on Twitter at all. But if you are, then don't not tell the truth because you're afraid of what the mob is going to think and say. If you're telling the truth, you're talking about a 15-year-old kid running around saying nigger online,
Yeah,
right?
but
I mean,
that was
that's no, 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 no. But I'm
yeah,
just saying, like that. That first of all, you're being a dick when you're a 15-year-old kid doing that, right?
yes.
You're being a real dick. So for if you have children now, I think that in this day, I understand back then maybe you didn't know. Like I often think to myself, oh my Lord, if some of the things that we used to talk about on the phone or in cars driving around when we're 15, 16 years old, drunk as hell, smoking pot, if somebody had recorded this stuff and posted it to social media, oh my God, right? So I think that I hope, and it probably is out there, that there's a lot of education that's happening with kids. If you know that you're teaching them now, they've learned don't do this, right? But in regard to the person that this happened to, if you have someone that posted something 15 years ago, I think that's where we need to push back against cancel culture. That's the appropriate time to push against that, to teach people, you know what, this person did this 15 years ago. We are not going to accept, I am not going to accept you judging somebody based on that. That's how I think that should be handled. And of course, I think somebody can be shocked and feel terrible about what's occurred. But also, I think that person needs to separate the existential problem of maybe getting fired, having people come to your house, threatened, deal with that separately from the idea of, I don't like that people aren't going to like me.
Yeah,
Deal with those separately.
Yeah, it is two separate. It is two separate issues. So, but the direct effect of cancel culture, like, don't be a dick. That feels pretty safe. The other problem, the other effect of this is that it doesn't only affect the people who are being cancelled. It affects everyone. It affects everybody who's witnessing what's happened. And according to this paper, there is a rise in general anxiety and in self-censorship because people are scared to say things that
okay.
can
See, Persephone, this is where it gets. See, this is what I'm talking about. So let's put the other situation in a corner right now. I don't want to talk about it. I mean, the people who, when they first came on the internet, are getting blasted right now. I want to address the situation of the people who are getting anxious now, the people who are being ostracized, and they're basically ostracizing themselves, I guess, and self-censoring, right? If the self-censorship relates to, I don't want to go be an edgy jerk, then you should be censoring it regardless of what other people think. If you are afraid to tell the truth or to say what you think in academia or somewhere else because you're afraid of being canceled, my advice is stop being a coward. Right? The people that make and shape the world are people who are not afraid to tell the truth when it requires being told. They're not worried about what Tom, Dick, Harry, and Jane are going to think about them. They say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. And I don't think that people ought to be focusing on, well, others aren't going to like me or others aren't going to like it. If you happen to be in a career, like I've had people come online in interactions with me, and they're very abrasive and very tough talking. And then they say, well, I like, for instance, somebody recently, and I said, well, why don't we're having a disagreement. I don't want to talk about it now. I'll bring you on my podcast and we can talk about it. Well, in my career, I don't want people to know my views. Well, then you're violating the very tenets of your views that has to do with courage, right? I get there can be negative effects, and I'm not recommending that everybody right now go on Twitter and spill their guts. That's not what I'm saying. You don't need to be on Twitter at all. What I'm saying is if you are in academia and you have a view that you think and you can demonstrate is true, and you're censoring it because you're afraid of what your colleagues are going to think, you're a coward. You're in the wrong field. Right? If you are in a position where speaking your mind is part of what you are doing and you're censoring yourself because of what others might think, you're a coward. Ian Gilmore says better if you're not on Twitter in general. look, if it wasn't to do with my career, I wouldn't be on there at all. It's a dumpster fire.
Uh,
No, no, you can't just do
yes.
that. You have to actually give an opinion.
Yes, it is. It is a dumpster fire. Um,
And let me just say, if you're in a situation, I want to be crystal clear about this. If you're in a situation where you're going to be physically harmed for your views, like if you are in a country, for instance, where you're going to express a view and it could get you harmed physically, or have an oppressive government that's going to lock you up, then by all means don't express your view. Or if you work at the local diner, or if you work in a career where their image matters, then no, I don't think you should be out there shooting your mouth off about controversial topics. That's not what I'm talking about.
so how do I convey what I want to convey here?
I don't know. If I knew, then you wouldn't
If
have to convey it.
if you are saying something that is either trying to be edgy, right? Or you're doing something and you are behaving like a dick and you get cancelled because of that. That's that's one thing. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is that it's not just people who quote unquote deserve it that are
Mhm.
being cancelled and that are facing death threats. Because I can say, well, maybe I shouldn't go around saying, Hitler was right on Twitter. Like, that's obvious. But people get cancelled for truly just some of the most bizarre reasons. Um, and a lot of the time, it is extremely difficult to predict. And this is what makes it so anxiety inducing for people because it is not as easy as just saying, well, don't share controversial opinions. Because what has happened in the past is they will see someone is being cancelled. There's a pile on happening, right? And this pile on can be for truly just bizarre reasons. Someone posted that they don't like dogs, right?
Yeah, but
And they
Persephone, that's what you should be fighting against. That's my
just
point. Just
let me let me finish. Okay, so
you didn't let
someone,
me finish.
yeah, but I mean, who are you? So so someone posts that they don't like dogs.
Yeah.
And then this gets dragged up and goes like, well, what kind of psychopath doesn't like dogs? And then there's this pile on happening. And then you see this and you tweet like this is an innocuous fucking interaction for you, right? You're like, wow, this is weird. So you respond like, I don't understand why people are getting their knickers in a knot like over something so silly. And then you're the one all of a sudden who people are going, how dare you get involved in something that doesn't
Yeah.
affect you? Like, who do you think you are? This is what happens. Cancel culture is not just someone saying something that can objectively be like worthy of being called out. This is mob justice for sins that make no sense.
Okay. So, first of all, you don't need to get on Twitter or any of these platforms and tell every viewpoint that you have. Like, why somebody feels the need, I don't like dogs, and put that, first of all, you don't need to be doing that. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And if you're going to use these platforms and you're not in the sort of business of giving your opinion like I am, you don't need to do it. Right? You don't have to get out there and tell everybody your every freaking thought on every freaking subject. And if you choose to do that, just know what the consequence can be. I mean, be
Yep.
aware of the consequences. But for those who are in the business, don't fear it. And for the people that cancel people over stupid things, those are the people that need to be fought against. And that needs to be called out and said, stop doing that and make rational arguments against him. But I mean, I don't know. I don't see all this that you're talking about. Anyway, I don't see all these people getting canceled for going on Twitter and saying they don't like dogs. Now, I
Uh,
could see it happening here. I can give you an example. I can see
Just wait before you
I
until you
see
finish
this.
your
I see
example.
this guy, but I can see, like, for instance, suppose you have somebody that's just started studying an issue. Let's say they're studying IQ, right? The topic of IQ. And the person puts a quote out there or a question out there. Hey, I've just come across this idea that there's racial differences in IQ. Does anybody know about this? Right? I could see people piling on right away, not understanding that this is just some person that's just looked into this and wants to know the truth, and say, how dare you ask that question? You should not be asking questions about race and IQ. And then somebody else comes in and says, yeah, that despicable son of a bitch. Now somebody else on the other side might come in that's just a stone cold racist and chime in. And now the fight takes place there. And the person who originally asked an innocent question ends up getting screwed in the process.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. I knew about the cancel culture in 2020. What I'm saying is that right now, there seems to have been a backlash against it. So that now people, it's more likely you're going to hear despicable things said that people get away with than hear somebody get canceled for an innocuous statement. That seems to be where we're at right now in
Okay.
America.
Let me give you one of the most recent examples of cancel culture gone fucking batshit that I can think of. No, put him off. I'll come back to him. Okay.
Well, we're
This is a
already
different
over time.
you give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
All right. But my
Okay.
shower and,
Life's hard, hey?
well,
Okay. So Joey Swole.
we
Joey
talked
Swole,
about this guy. We talked about this example already on here.
the person who was like making porn in the bathroom.
I didn't know about that. Maybe we didn't
Okay.
talk about that.
Let
We
me
talked
let
about
me
Joey Swole.
let me give you what actually happened. So a transgender woman was in the ladies' bathroom in the gym making OnlyFans content with her dick out. Okay? So Joey Swole saw this and basically made a video and said, this is not okay. You cannot film porn in the gym bathroom. And people started canceling him for being, what do you call it when you hate trans people?
Transphobia. When did this happen?
Last year.
And where?
Where, on, like, on which platforms or where did
Okay,
this happen?
hold on. Has he lost a significant amount of followers? Is he now going to be poor? Is he out of business or out of work because
He
of
did
this?
lose a significant amount of followers and
Where
he
is he right
did,
now? How's he doing right now?
he's fine. He's
Okay.
fine now.
Okay.
But
So
he
he didn't
did,
actually get canceled.
well, no, he did. He lost a significant amount of followers and there was significant backlash against him, right?
And
And
my bet is, let me just say what my bet is. I don't even know the story. I'm going to tell you what happened.
okay,
And initially, people piled on him and started to cancel him and got angry with him.
yes.
Then the other side came in, ran to his rescue, started criticizing the side that canceled him. His followership went back up, and it's probably more than it was beforehand.
I don't think so. So what happened was he posted the initial video, he started losing followers, he posted an apology video, stupid. People piled on even more. He stopped posting videos for like a month or two and then he just kept getting hate.
Okay. This you didn't tell me. See, this is
What?
important. Joey Swole got canceled because he's a family friendly and progressive, hate family friendly content. That's what Akira Felix is saying. Most of
Well,
his following didn't have a problem with him saying this.
that's true. People who know Joey Swole didn't have a problem with it. But anyway, so this is the point that I was trying to make, right? Is that Joey wasn't wrong in saying, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't be filming porn in the gym bathroom." But people still lost their minds
Can you
and
find his
were,
exact comments? I'm curious what he said exactly. If you
yes,
can
but just
find that.
just
No,
just
well,
put
it matters. I want to know the context. What I'm arguing today, my point here is, I don't believe cancel culture today is what you are saying it is. I think was a horrible thing. I think it was very strong, and I think now the pendulum has swung the other way, where people are really out there being jackasses and not getting canceled for it. This Joey Swole, from what I'm seeing, he's still very, very popular, so he didn't actually get canceled.
No, that's true, but I mean, like, if we're taking cancelled as like you've lost your job and you're going to be homeless, then sure, no. But I mean, the
Well,
negative, if you can't, you I don't think that you can just discount all of the negative effects just because he still has a following
well,
of some variety.
well, what I can say is that that's not what cancel culture is. Just because he had negative effects, cancel culture means gets canceled, not gets criticized and maintains a high degree of popularity.
No, but it's not just criticized. Anyway, I'll find the Joey
Find the
Swole.
quote. Found the quote. What I'm gonna find? I'll find it. You talk. Give a
Put
speech,
the
and
put the video, put the picture on, put the picture on.
you could talk about this guy.
I can talk about this guy.
All right.
So this lovely man over here um is, I think his name is Matt Taylor, and he's one of the scientists who helped to land he helped land a spaceship, a rocket, a probe, that's what it's called. He helped to land a probe on a comet, which is a really impressive scientific achievement. But he made the very unfortunate decision to wear this shirt that he's currently wearing in this picture when they did the broadcast. Um, it's definitely a choice, but he got he got cancelled for this shirt that he was wearing and had to post an apology and came very close to losing his job, just because of a very unfortunate fashion choice that he made. And I will grant it is a really unfortunate choice that he made. But he also did land a probe on a moving comet in space. So I feel like he should get some leeway. Michael, what do you think about this shirt?
I don't care about that shirt. Okay, so here. This is what it's saying here about Joey Swole.
Hmm.
Okay, Joey Swole. There was a viral. There was two incidents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was a viral altercation that took place at a Gold's Gym in Beverly Hills between a lesbian singer, Tish Hyman, and transgender woman, Alexis Black. Swole publicly sided with Hyman, calling Black's alleged behavior absolutely disgusting. This was a viral altercation. He offered to personally help Hyman find the new gym and pay for her membership, writing, "Women have the right to feel safe in gym locker rooms without men, period." Critics called him hypocritical, and this is why. Because he had repeatedly condemned people for recording others without consent in gyms. Yet in this case, appeared to support those who filmed and shared the locker room altercation online. So that was one of the issues. Now, I don't know the context. The other thing is, he himself posted a video about the transgender woman who allegedly filmed adult content in a women's locker room at a Good Life fitness gym in Canada. He then posted a follow-up update on December 21st, claiming the person had been banned from the gym. Critics accused him of misgendering the woman, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. The transgender woman in the follow-up video, with some noting he had used correct pronouns in the first video but not the second. One user wrote that there was no need to misgender her and be transphobic. He responded to the transphobia allegations by saying people don't get a free pass just because they're trans, and that he uses his platform to call everyone out for doing lewd things in gyms. Critics argued that the core issue was a double standard, that he consistently framed incidents involving transgender women around their identity, whereas cisgender women who violated gym rules were criticized only for their behavior, not for who they are. So there's evidently a little bit more to the subject than what you're talking about. Although the whole cisgender, transgender, I think it's absurd. Listen, I'm going to say it, and it might be controversial. Transgender women are men, right? They're men. If you have a Johnson, you're a dude. I think that it's a real phenomenon. I think there are men who psychologically feel like women and identify as women, but they're not women. But this guy, it seems, was not canceled in the way that it's usually talked about.
No.
And here's my take on it too. I don't know him, but a lot of people like to say things. When you're in public, you got to take the good with the bad, right? Like you are getting famous for putting your pie eater out there, saying things, right? And so when it comes back on you, I don't, you got to take the good with the bad. I don't like cancel culture when it's for stupid shit. I agree with that. And that should be pushed back again. But you have something to prepare for. This guy get criticized for wearing this shirt?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. I think everyone should agree this guy should get canceled. I don't care what he's done. If you wear that shirt, you shouldn't be accepted in polite society.
He landed a probe on a comment.
Listen, nobody wants to see that shirt.
It was a really unfortunate choice. But also, was it worth all of the backlash? Like, it's an ugly shirt. It's a stupid shirt. But, maybe he's neurodivergent. You don't know.
So because of my Johnson comment, Katie wants to know what happens if they go through the surgery. They're still a woman. They still have the double X chromosome. They're still a guy. They have an XY chromosome, I should have said. They don't have a uterus. They can't ovulate. They don't go through menopause. They're not having a period. They're not women. That's that. So that's it. He's a nerd. They all wear cringe shirts. No, I don't really think the guy should get canceled for wearing the cringe shirt, but I think we should agree it's a cringe shirt.
It is.
Now, we've got taken way off track. The bottom line, this is my position, Persephone. Can I tell you what it is?
Yes.
I think cancel culture was an extreme problem a few years back. And I think that when people pile on to cancel somebody for simply giving a perspective that they disagree with, I think it's absolutely absurd. I think the pendulum has largely swung now, where the pushback against cancel culture is so strong now that people feel comfortable being extreme dicks in public because they don't fear getting canceled. I think that's unfortunate as well. I think that social ostracism can be a strong tool to push back against people who are immoral scumbags, but it can be overused. What do you think?
Yes, I kind of agree with you, but I think I'm going to post this article to Twitter.
About this guy with this shirt?
No, about
the Joey Swole stuff?
No, the article that we read before this episode.
Oh, okay, it's a good article.
I think it's a good article, so I'm going to post that and I'm going to tag you, and then everybody else can go read it, and then everybody else can let us know their thoughts.
Okay, if you tag me, I'll be it.
In the comments of this video, leave your thoughts about what you think of cancel culture.
Can I tell you something very quickly about cancel culture?
Sure.
So my talk show mentor, Todd Feinberg, is a conservative / libertarian when it comes to politics. But he's very open to listening to ideas, wants to hear new arguments, that sort of thing. He was not a fan of cancel culture. Then the 2020 election happened, and Todd told his audience he thought Biden would win. Not that he wanted Biden to win, just that the evidence was indicating that Trump would lose the election, right? The next thing you knew, a variety of callers, a lot of them were calling saying people should stop listening to him. He's not a real conservative. He's not a Trump supporter. The very people who were pissing and moaning about cancel culture were trying to cancel him, not because he disagreed with them on who should win, because even though he wasn't MAGA, he thought that Trump was better than Biden. He just said, look, I'm looking at the evidence. It looks like Biden's going to win, and they wanted him canceled. So a lot of these people are just straight scumbag hypocrites. The people who pushed back against cancel culture are just as hypocritical as the people that were for it. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap up. Persephone, you only have 15 minutes now. Thank you, everybody, for joining Everyday Ethics. Please be back tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, and afterwards, be ethical.
Bye.